There are more than 4.5 thousand species of frogs in the world. This number cannot be called constant, since every year scientists discover some species, while others, on the contrary, die out. The variety of toads and frogs remains unchanged, which surprise with their shapes and colors. These amphibians have evolved with the environment in mind, adapting to living conditions in such incredible ways that writers with the richest imagination could not come up with. There are many very unusual species of frogs living on Earth. In our list, you will learn about frogs that make sounds of squeaking toys, flying frogs, and even frogs whose reproductive organ is on their backs. Oh yes, it's an amazing world. Here are the top 15 most unusual species of frogs. Glass frog with an open heart. This little frog has recently been in the headlines of many newspapers due to its resemblance to Kermit the Frog from the Muppets. The hype was added by the fact that this species was discovered quite recently. The double of Kermit was discovered by Brian Kubicki, a researcher from Minnesota on the slopes of Costa Rica. This species is unique in its transparency, as well as the sounds produced. In addition, the glass frog's eyes are very similar to Kermit's eyes. The scientist named the found species after his mother Diana. The length of the frog is approximately 2.5 centimeters, and it is considered a subspecies of glass frogs, which are so named because of the transparent abdomen, which opens a view of the internal organs of the amphibian. Pedophrenomaoensis. If we are surprised by the size of Diana's glass frog, then what can we say about Pedophrenomaoensis, also a recently found species? It was discovered a little less than 10 years ago. The size of the frog does not exceed 7 millimeters, which makes it possible to call this species of amphibian the smallest vertebrate creature on Earth. Due to its size, the frog resembles an insect. The similarity is also added by the color, similar to the forest cover with dried branches. Unsurprisingly, it took scientists some time to see it. The method that provided the identification of a new species also deserves attention. The researchers used triangulation, which determined the location of the sounds, and then took the foliage in a plastic bag to find out the source of the noise. So the smallest frog in the world was found. Its habitat is the forests of Papua New Guinea. Desert narrowcourt. This unusual kind of frog resembles an animated movie character or a wind-up toy. The desert narrowcoat is found in the Republic of South Africa and Namibia, living in a coastal zone 10 kilometers wide. As a rule, they hide in coastal sands, as well as tropical or subtropical dried shrubs. During the day, they bury themselves in the sand to a depth of 10-20 centimeters, hiding from the heat. After waiting in the cool and moist sand all day, at night the frogs crawl to the surface. They especially like foggy nights when you can feast on larvae and insects. The desert narrowcourts made a real splash after posting a video with them on the network. It will not be difficult for you to find it and admire these amazing creatures. Decorated slingshot. While some frogs prefer to spend their whole lives in disguise, others want to show themselves in all their glory. These can include a decorated slingshot. Its name speaks for itself. This frog has something to brag about. It is also called the Argentine horned frog, the Argentine largemouth frog and the Pac-Man frog. You may ask, why Pac-Man? Yes, because this kind of frog is trying to swallow everything that is near its huge mouth. The diet of the decorated slingshot includes rodents, insects and even other types of frogs. Despite its minimum size of 15 centimeters, it is simply insatiable, while half of the body area is occupied by the mouth of a slingshot. They are also popularly called mouth on legs, since from the front side you can only see the mouth and limbs. There is nothing surprising in the bite power of a decorated slingshot. Take care of your fingers. Hairy frog. To be honest, Trichobotrachus robustus scares us a little. This amphibian species is also called wolverine frogs and terrifying frogs. What really scares her is her thirst for fighting. If the frog is attacked, she will break her toes, acting as claws sticking out of the skin. Very cute, isn't it? Later, the bones fall off by themselves, and the damaged skin heals. This is the only animal, except Logan, of course, which has such a protective mechanism. Comparisons with the wolverine do not end with the bones flying out of its limbs. The frog also has hair growths on the sides, which are observed in males. During the breeding season, males grow dermal papillae, similar to hair, with many arteries that help absorb more oxygen. This is necessary for a hairy frog to stay underwater for a long time, when it protects eggs laid by females. This species can be found in Central Africa and, although it is not on the verge of extinction, there is a threat of the frog losing its natural habitat. Vietnamese mossy frog. This kind of frog is rightfully considered a real guru of disguise. Life in tropical and subtropical forests, as well as freshwater marshes, has turned the frog's skin into an excellent camouflage that looks like a moss-covered surface. Even the eye sockets of this amphibian are covered with camouflage pigment. At the sight of a threat, the frog twists into a tight ball, making it completely invisible. In this form, it is not easy to distinguish it from a stone. The average length of Thaliderma cortical is 6-9 cm, and each of their fingers has a suction cup that helps to stay on slippery branches and rocks. Terrible leaf climber. The name of this amphibian species fully justifies itself. This frog is one of the most venomous creatures on the planet. One individual 5 cm long contains enough poison to kill 10 to 20 people or 2 elephants. Just 1 gram of a toxic substance produced by a terrible leaf climber can kill about 15,000 people. By the way, an article about the most poisonous frogs in the world has been published on our website topcafe.su. Scientists still cannot understand how such tiny creatures can produce such a strong poison. It is assumed that the whole thing is in poisonous plants, absorbed into food by beetles, termites and ants, which later become prey to leaf climbers. Captive bred frogs cannot release toxic substances that are only available to wildlife representatives. The alkaloid toxins covering the skin of the terrible leaf climbers retain their effect for a long time, even if you tear the frog away from the usual food sources. As for the victims of this species of frogs, they kill everyone who dares to attack them, except Liophis snakes, which are resistant, but not immune, to the toxins of the terrible leaf climber. This species lives in the Colombian rainforest, near the Pacific Ocean. The large population density of Philobates terribilis, scientific name, is explained by the small area. Nevertheless, the destruction of forests in this area has led to the threat of extinction of this unique animal. Indian tiger frog. Fortunately, not all yellow frogs are fatal to humans. Some will just entertain you with their inimitable vocals. The tiger frog has a bright color, and is found in the southeastern and southern regions of Asia. During most of the year, these amphibians are painted in dark olive colors. However, during the mating season, the males simply bloom, turning into bright yellow beauties. They also develop vocal bags under the throat, with which they attract females. Top Cafe advises you to watch this video. With a body about 15 centimeters long, this species is the largest of the Indian frogs. In the 90s of the 20th century, people began to grow them for food. In addition, they were artificially bred in Madagascar, diversifying the already rich fauna of the island. Brazilian slingshot. The Brazilian slingshot, also known as the changeable slingshot, has no less mouth than the decorated slingshot. As for her reputation, she is perhaps even more aggressive than the species described earlier. Masquerading in the fallen leaves, this 20-centimeter frog sticks out only its head, preparing to grab anyone who passes by it. Some individuals die because of their greed. Slingshots grab too much prey, however, do not release it, preferring to die of suffocation with the victim still sticking out of his mouth. It will attack everyone, including the feet of animals or people passing by. Here's our advice: don't tease the beast. Black-footed paddlefoot. In the English version, they are called Wallace's flying frogs, which already says a lot. If they don't fly, they definitely plan. These amphibians have particularly long fingers with wide webbing, which are used during jumps as parachutes. They also have skin flaps on the forelimbs, which are necessary for a better grip of the surface. Black-clawed paddleheads spend almost their entire lives in trees, descending to the ground only for mating and laying eggs. They use their gliding abilities to evade pursuit by jumping from branch to branch. Paddleheads can cover a distance of 15 meters in one jump. Although they are not the only amphibians with such abilities, black-clawed paddleheads are definitely one of the largest. Their length reaches 10 centimeters. Paradoxically, the future of these frogs directly depends on the future of Asian rhinos. The fact is that paddleheads lay their eggs in fetid pits used by rhinos for recreation. Since Asian rhinos are almost extinct, this may put Wallace's flying frogs on the verge of extinction. Top Cafe hopes that in the near future the population of rhinos, as well as these unusual frogs, will increase. Venezuelan pebble-toad. The pebble-toad is the perfect name for this small amphibian. It's all about its habitat and defense mechanisms. She lives on rocky slopes, and since this toad is not capable of flying, when danger arises, she strains her muscles and jumps down. Due to the minimal weight, as well as strong muscles, such falls do not harm the pebble-toad. She lands in crevices or puddles, staying alive and healthy. This strategy is designed to protect against predators, for example, tarantulas. Not only does it roll down the slopes like a pebble, the toad also resembles it in its appearance. The dark color of the toad, whose length does not exceed 2.5 centimeters, allows it to disguise itself among the rocks, and when rolled up, it is no different from a small stone. Surinamese pipa. Also known as the American pipa, this toad is one of the most bizarre amphibians with a disorienting, yes, just disgusting, way of reproduction. But first let's talk about its shape. The Surinamese pipa is almost completely flat, with small eyes sticking out. In addition, she has no tongue and teeth. Instead of croaking, she literally knocks her bones in her throat, making a clicking sound. Pipa's oddities don't end there. This amphibian species breeds underwater. In the process of mating, females release 3-10 eggs at a time, which land and get used to her back. Having penetrated under the skin, the eggs develop there, passing the way from tadpoles to toads. That's right, tiny toads break out in the backs of the mother individual. It's very strange, but quite entertaining, so you should see the whole process on video. Purple frog. It is not immediately possible to recognize a frog in this bizarre creature. It's all about its shape, resembling a small blob. It lives in the Indian mountains of the Western Ghats, and the closest relative of this amphibian is located in the Seychelles, off the east coast of Africa. This amphibian has evolved independently for 120 years, which explains the strange appearance of the frog. The scientific name includes the word nose, which is understandable, since the creature has an elongated muzzle. The shape and even the purple color are quite understandable, since the frog spends most of its life underground, feeding on termites. On the surface, it happens only 2 weeks a year, crawling out of hiding during the monsoon. During this period, she mates, after which she crawls underground. Such a routine of life allowed her to hide from prying eyes for a long time. Scientists managed to describe the purple frog in detail only in 2003. Malagasy rainbow frog. This species of frog from Madagascar has many names, including the decorated jumper, rainbow burrowing, red rain and even narrow-mouthed frog gottleba. But, no matter what name this amphibian is given, it remains the same colorful. Its color includes red, orange, black, green and white patterns. The creature is famous not only for its coloring, but also for its excellent climbing skills. During the day, the amphibian digs in the sand near streams, and at night it climbs rocky ledges, climbing walls thanks to sharp claws on its forelimbs. This is one of the few frogs that can burrow and climb. Unfortunately, the decorated jumper is in danger of extinction, as it is of great value to lovers of exotic animals who are willing to pay a lot of money for their capture. Malay horned frog. This subspecies of horned garlic beetles during evolution took on a form that allows them to disguise themselves in the leaves of the forest litter. Additional horns on the eyes and nose give a resemblance to the pointed edges of the foliage. Megaphryznosuta lives among the fallen leaves of the humid forests of Southeast Asia. Disguise is necessary for the frog in order to hide from predators and prospective prey. Passing through the forest, it is extremely difficult to notice. The amphibian spends a long time motionless, waiting for the approach of a victim, after which it strikes a lightning strike. The usual prey of these amphibians are insects, however, they do not disdain lizards, spiders, other frogs and even small rodents. Starting from the mottled color and ending with folds on the skin, it is designed to provide a frog with a disguise in the leaves, but once it is removed from its natural habitat, it will look like a bat.